Are you ready to roll?
I am ready to roll.
Okay, well, let's do it then. So, hey, everybody, welcome to Steve Couper's podcast for aspiring real estate investors. In each episode, we connect with seasoned investors and industry subject matter experts who are eager to share their experiences and tips for success when investing in real estate. So, today is a great day. I'm so stoked to introduce my guest for Steve Couper's podcast number 15. She's a passionate real estate professional and investment specialist. Raised with construction in her blood, she has grown to a position of esteem, being recognized with accolades by some of the industry's titans. Like, for instance, this statement from Patrick Francie: "If you're a real estate investor, then this is your team." How about that? She earned her realtor license in 2008, holds a degree in marketing, and has built a nationally recognized reputation in the investor sector. She's a top producing team leader and property manager at CIR Realty. She remains committed to continuous learning and investment in real estate. And now, as CEO of WealthShare, she's dedicated to empowering others to take control of their financial futures through real estate. I love that sentence. I'm going to use that. So, another quote for you here. She's committed to giving you the best advice based on your circumstances and will guide you through all of your options. It's always important to work with an agent that can bring solutions and help make the most informed decisions using their market expertise. Now, this is from a guy named Scott McGilvery in Keyspire. Perhaps people have heard of him. Okay, so we've established she's an experienced realtor and a real estate investor. Her goal is to provide value through one-on-one strategic meetings, live and virtual events, specialized marketing plans, and exclusive opportunities. She believes strongly, as do I, that real estate holds endless potential for wealth. All right, so you're almost done listening to me talk now. Let's get closer here. Financial security. Okay, the real estate holds endless potential to wealth, financial security, and most importantly, options in times of unforeseen circumstances. She knows that working with the right team is critical. She and her team are here to help you navigate those real estate dreams one step at a time. So she and her husband, I'm sorry, gentlemen, she's married, and two children, enjoy spending time together, be it traveling, gardening, camping, and getting outdoors, walking the dogs, as well as rescuing and advocating for their welfare. She consistently aims to provide exceptional service to her clients while working to take part in the new projects and develop professionally. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor, a profound pleasure to welcome my guest number 15 on Steve Couper's podcast, and my friend, the amazing Natasha Phipps.
Wow, thank you so much.
Natasha, it's such an amazing journey that you've been on. I know that there's so much more about you that you can tell, and maybe before we let you do that, you can tell me what I got wrong. Did I capture everything correctly?
I think you did a fantastic job. That might be the most detailed introduction I've ever had. So very well done. You've done your research.
I've done my research. So before we dive into questions, would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself? Can you share your journey into real estate? What inspired you to become a realtor and investor?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. I'm very excited to be here, and just how this show has taken off is really exciting. So congratulations on that. And I'm honored to be here today. I always love hearing everybody's journey of how they got into real estate. And so I love this question. I was pretty lucky. My mom was a personal financial banker at Scotiabank, and my dad is in the construction space. And when I kind of wanted to move out, and we lived in the country and wanted to get into the city, my mom sat me down and showed me how a mortgage works, and how if I was going to become a tenant for somebody, I'd be paying down their mortgage. And so with the help of my family, they actually helped me buy my first property. And from there, I kind of just really ran with it. Then Calgary was booming. You couldn't not really go wrong in real estate. But I was kind of buying, selling, moving, and just kind of like continuing this cycle through my early 20s, through my university days. And when I got out of university, I learned a few things that I was kind of irritated I didn't know at the beginning, which was that I could have more than one mortgage, that there was a way to be strategic with this. And I really wanted to share what I was learning. And so didn't want to work for somebody else, wanted to be self-employed, and with the background in the construction space as well, was just really curious about so much going on in our city at that time. So got my real estate license with the intent from day one of focusing on the real estate investment niche and space and doubling down on that. So that's kind of how I got started into the space. And I was like addicted to real estate pretty quickly, I would say.
Really? That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Hmm.
That's really fascinating. And you sort of had provided me with a nice segue into my next question because Calgary, I think, has been the poster child for the market cycle. It really has represented the ups and downs. And if we were to look back over the last 20 years, you've had the boom periods in the early 2000s
Yeah.
where the market was growing rapidly. Then we had a financial meltdown with subprime mortgages tanking in the 2008 area.
Mhm.
2014, 15, the oil prices dumped. Um, but there was a recovery, and it was a slow recovery up until, say, maybe the pandemic. And then all of a sudden, Calgary was the place to be. And
Yeah.
everybody, the spotlight was there, and everything was moving. So I guess my question for you as we watch that, there's a different strategy people need to employ as they look at the market in different elements of that cycle. Where do you see Calgary today? Is it plateaued? Is there more growth coming? And what strategy do you think people should be employing at this point in time in Calgary?
Um, so yes, couldn't agree more. Certainly through my career, we have been through this real estate cycle now multiple times. And but what is so great about that is it does teach you to pivot and adapt and change, because you're exactly right. You need to be deploying the right strategy at the right time in the market. So where do I think we're at right now? What's interesting about right now in Calgary that's different from my lifetime in this city is all of that historically was very much driven by the price of oil. Now, don't get me wrong, the energy sector is still a substantial part of our economy, but moving into the pandemic, like you said, the shift in this market was not for the first time driven by the price of oil. It was driven by the kind of Canadian economic landscape and Canadians seeking affordability and looking to Calgary as an opportunity. And so what that has kind of built in the last 4 or 5 years is really exciting for me as an investor and a Calgarian, in that we're seeing more diversification in our economy than ever before. And I really hope that continues so that we can build a stronger foundation and a stronger base to this city and the province. So kind of wanted to just say that. Where I think we're at right now, I always have a hard time painting the entire city with one brush. It's kind of like the Canadian real estate market. It's also like the Calgary real estate market. Oftentimes what, the condo market's doing is very different than single family housing. But speaking very generally, we are at a time right now, kind of 3/4 of the way through the year, where inventory levels are rising. In some portions of the city, I would say we're in balanced market conditions, so it's not quite as crazy. And then there's certain sectors of the market there's nothing. So it's a big kind of variation right now, but I do think as we move into next year, we are going to see more of a balanced market here. I don't know if necessarily plateau, I wouldn't use that word, in that there's going to be no appreciation to be had by any means. But I do think you need to be strategic. Right now, I get this vibe of like, everyone's a genius a little bit, like let's not be that. Let's be strategic, think critically, and think long term. Really is kind of what I always remind myself and investors to think about, is you got to think long term, not just the next 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. So, given that, what strategy are you personally employing for your investments, and where, what, and how are you investing these days?
Yeah. So on the residential side, I'm kind of focused in multifamily now, but I do want to talk about residentials. I think there's probably plenty of residential investors in this space. In the condo market, you need to be most sort of strategic there in Calgary. It's a nice entry point. It's affordable. It's easy to own from anywhere. But it's not like all condo projects are created equally. And what is unique about our city is that we have plenty of land here. It's not the same as Vancouver, Toronto, where, in high density areas, there's a real shortage of land, and it's relatively affordable land as well. So you need to be strategic when you're thinking about condos. Resale condos right now make actually quite a bit of sense. There's only a few pre-construction projects where I'm like, yes, that is something we really need in that area. A lot of them we can see development for years to come. So be strategic with condos. When we talked about investor, focus realtor everywhere, you always hear that, but use someone that's actually in this city that knows it. So that's the condo market. I would be looking downtown and inner city, actually, if I was looking at condos as well, or even the surrounding communities, like the surrounding areas. There's some good rental demand, not enough kind of development to support the rental market. And then probably my favorite residential strategy, which I have been talking about since 2018, still applies to today, has worked through every one of those market conditions possible, is suited properties. So single family residential properties, I still own those, manage them, love them, and they have worked through Calgary's best and worst and everything in between. And I would still feel very, very confident investing in those, whether it's, duplexes, up, down, fourplexes. They work very well. And the city of Calgary is very much promoting that type of development. There's even grant programs in place right now for secondary suites. So absolutely love secondary suites. And then what I'm focused on right now is the multifamily commercial space. So I've built a career and tested a lot of different strategies over those years in the residential world. And just 2.5 years ago, starting WealthShare was kind of to take that to the next level, to be able to offer this type of opportunity to more people, is what I was really wanting to provide, and also get into that multifamily space and put everything I've learned to try to work in some sort of long-term plan. So WealthShare is focused on just really good buy and hold multifamily assets and managing them really well. That's the key to multifamily real estate right there. So that's where all my focus is day to day in terms of what my energy is going into.
To tell us more about WealthShare. How does somebody invest in it?
Yeah, so WealthShare is a private REIT. So what that allows us to do is pool investor capital. It allows us to raise capital from investors that are not accredited, because we have an offering memorandum and an exempt market dealer in place. And really what our mission is to get more people investing. The statistics of how home ownership levels are only going down in this country does concern me. The affordability issues do concern me. And we want people investing in real estate as soon as possible. So we have a loan minimum of only $5,000 intentionally, because we want people to dip a toe that might not otherwise get started. And then this whole world opens up that we know really well, but this whole world opens up, and hopefully they'll start thinking about their financial futures as it pertains to real estate and everything else. So that's kind of our mission and our goal. We're not taking big risks. We are, buying assets that make money from day one and just doing a good job with them. That's really how true wealth is built in real estate, is that way. So that's what we're doing. You can invest with cash or registered funds, which is also something that's really exciting. There's all kinds of, things you could deploy there when it comes to tax efficiencies. And to find out more, you can go to wealthshare.ca. We target a 12% annual return, and I would consider us a secure, passive way where you can see, touch, and feel where your money is going to today. And we're growing quite a community. We're almost at 300 investors in the WealthShare community. And like you, we're sharing what we're learning. We're talking to people. We're trying to provide as much value beyond even their investment into this landscape, because there's so much to learn and share as we grow.
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. Good
Thank
to hear.
you. Yeah. It's been an
300, that's great.
exciting 2.5 years, that's for sure.
Hey, my next question is about teamwork. So
Yeah.
real estate investors need to build themselves a team. They need to have an investor-focused real estate agent, mortgage broker. They need to have an investor-focused property manager and accountant and a lawyer. and ideally a coach, and then all the trades that come with it.
Right.
So knowing that, and knowing that this has got to function as a team, you've had a lot of experience with different investors, and you've seen what works and what doesn't. And I'm interested in your perspective on how that team would best function together, how they would communicate, how they would meet, how they would collaborate, how they would complement each other in making the right decisions. Tell
Yeah,
us a bit about yours.
yeah, that's actually a really good question, because a lot of people like think about finding the right people, but then how are those people going to work together, right? So first off, these people ideally have already done or are doing what you want to do. So that's always the first thing is that the realtor and the mortgage broker, those two working together through an acquisition period is really, really important. More important even in the commercial multifamily space. Like it's a must for me, in my opinion. It's from day one, I need to be working with that individual for us to have the most chance of success and to support the client in the best manner. So ideally, kind of the best teams often, you may have a good feeling about a realtor or a broker or something. And if that individual seems to be a good match for you, I would ask them who they would recommend, because often kind of they'll work with similar people that work together. And the lawyers I recommend, the mortgage brokers I recommend, we've been working together now for on hundreds of transactions and many, many years. And so when we put these teams together, we work really cohesively together. So asking kind of those professionals who they would recommend would be number one. And then really number two, like we talked about, is making sure that they are actually specialized in the niche that you are looking at. My largest fear actually with what I've seen in this entire year is the amount of investors investing in Calgary with realtors that are not even from Alberta. And we are already seeing the impacts of what that is going to create. And that just is not smart. Let's not do that, because they just don't know the area. So making sure they're, geographically focused on where you're looking to put your hard-earned money, really, really important. And then in terms of like, your accountants and lawyers, I mean, they're not quite in the thick of it during kind of that acquisition phase necessarily, but you should be, before you even get to the acquisition phase, your accountant should be hopefully advising you on everything you should have structured. So they wouldn't be involved in the day-to-day with us kind of on the ground, but they should definitely be involved in the real estate investing space for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Wow, what great advice. Great advice. I should talk to you more often.
Anytime, here for you anytime.
Natasha, there's a question that I think is really important to understand from everybody that I interview with this podcast. I get a different answer. It surprises me every time. What is your why? What is it that makes Natasha tick? What is it that drives you forward? What does success look like? And how are you going to know when you get there?
Yeah. I told a little story yesterday. I'm going to tell you that I don't think I've ever told it on a new podcast. Kind of because I get asked, oh, how do you do it all? Where do you get the energy and the drive? When I was about 15, 16, I started working for my dad's company. Just whatever he needed help with, I would help with. And when I was 16, just driving a car, we needed more work. He does exterior finishing, so new construction. I'm sitting at his desk in his office, and he walks in and puts the yellow pages in front of me and goes, find us more work. And I'm like, okay, sure. So I look at the builders in the phone book and literally called them up asking if I could come in, tell them about our company, and if we could quote any jobs that they had going. Um, I got a lot of no's, like a lot of like just obviously hanging up. This one pretty large developer said, sure, come on in. And then I was like, oh my goodness. Me at 16 alone drove there, had the meeting with who would have been kind of the estimating manager, walked out with an opportunity with the giant blueprints in my hand, and went home to my dad and said, I got a job for us to quote. And this was a large condo building. It wasn't just a single family house. It was a big, big job. And my dad worked for that developer for over 20 years. And but so he taught me a lot more. But when I turned kind of 18, was going on my own, it was kind of like, okay, it's time to kind of go on your own now. Like, I've taught you what I can, I've kind of pushed you. And I'll never forget that. Like, what do I have to lose? Like, I was scared, but I did it anyway. So that's a really important lesson that paid off big time, but you have to be okay to hear no. So I heard a lot of no. But that success of pushing the limit of what others might be scared to do, I will run towards that. I do love the kind of building of something and creating something in my lifetime. And WealthShare is kind of the next culmination of that, where I can ideally bring something positive to an even larger audience. So that's really what I love. And on a personal level, building some sort of security. I mean, I've been in sales my entire career. Have my real estate that's my security, but that's kind of always been the driver in the background of, I want to build security for my family. I want to leave something for my kids. And I want to have a great retirement where I'm not worried about money and I can experience what this world has to offer as I get older. So all of that kind of culminates what drives me. I can always hear my dad a little bit in my ear, which I'm sure he would love to know. And it's like, you can do it. Let's take one step at a time. Let's see where we can go with this. And like, it's unbelievable what can happen if you take that first step.
Unbelievable, absolutely.
Yeah. So
There
you're
you
the
go.
first to hear that story.
There you go. That's a great story. I love it. You know, my parents were always inspiring me with different you know, I'm at a loss for words here, but I have lots of stories where my parents were there beside me, helping me move forward with
Hmm.
things that I wanted to do. They were always encouraging me. Your father actually really taught you something that helped you learn how to move forward. That sounds brilliant.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I look back and I just can't believe I walked into that office. Like, I just can't believe I walked out with the blueprints. The whole thing is so funny to look back on. I would love to like have a photo of me that day or something, but it's burned into my mind. And yeah, something we definitely are already passing on to our own kids.
You must have been beaming with excitement.
I definitely was. Yes.
Thank you, Natasha. I truly appreciate you sharing your story, your insights into the world of real estate investing. If people want to reach you, how should
Yeah.
they go about doing that?
Pretty easy to find me. I'm kind of all over all over the internet, but you can go to phippsgroup.ca to learn more about our real estate services here in Calgary. We do residential, commercial, and property management. And you can go to wealthshare.ca if you want to learn more about the fund. We would love to help you in any way. I love talking real estate, so reach out anytime, and I'm here to help for whatever you need in Alberta.
Awesome news. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.